Good morning.
Hi.
I'm so excited to be here with you this morning.
This is great. Thank you so much for coming over.
Oh, you're welcome. Joanne Pollock with Remark Art Consulting, and I'm here with Eleanor Rigby.
And Rigby.
and Rigby. Eleanor Lowden and her dog Rigby, and he's just a darling. So we're here to chat about Eleanor and her amazing progression and journey as an artist over quite a long period of time, right?
Yes. It has been, yes.
Grandma was an inspiration.
Yes, she was. She was a watercolor painter. She did mostly figurative nudes, and so she was always doing art, and I thought that was fascinating. She and I painted together too, later on in my life,
So
but
nice.
I think one of the reasons I began painting was her use of watercolor, and so I began painting in watercolor because that seemed the obvious choice of medium. And from that, I got my start really with the world of picture frames. I don't believe they exist anymore. They're over on Cartwright Avenue by Yorkdale. But they gave me my first show. I know they're a framing store, but they had shows at the framers, and they were great. So I did a lot of work and showed a lot of times. And that began probably in 1997, I'm going to say. And in the year 2000, I moved up to Calgary. And I still came back to the world of picture frames and did a couple of shows following moving with my family out to Calgary. But then I got involved in the Calgary art scene. And it took a while to start there as well. And I was doing watercolors there as well. But I eventually learned that having to frame everything and put glass in it and was just counterintuitive to me, because the galleries would then take 50% of what I was paying in framing and glass. And it seemed to me that most people were painting acrylics and painting on gallery canvases, and I thought this sounded a lot easier. So I switched to acrylic. Having found acrylics, though, it was a little more difficult than painting in watercolor at first, because watercolor is always resoluble, and you could kind of fix things and move things around with watercolor, whereas acrylics, once they're dried for good. So it was a different process, but one I love now.
You've had a great career, though, artistically speaking, right? So you graduated from Western with a BA in Fine Art.
Yeah.
And you probably have never looked back, really, since those days, because you told me that you knew you always wanted to be an artist.
I did. I think I was 11. We went to Banff as a family, and we walked into a gallery, I thought it was a store at the time, and there was a woman painting at an easel at the back of the store who was probably about my age now. And I thought, oh, that's what I want to be when I grow up. So I knew all along, which made it really easy. Following graduation, though, I knew that I couldn't just set up an easel and paint to make money. I went into advertising, and I worked in advertising for about 10 years, and I think that was great for me to learn about marketing.
Still creative.
It is, but I think what I learned mostly was how things sell.
The business.
Yeah, and not that I want to necessarily paint things so that they'll sell. I wanted to paint things that I believed in, that meant something to me, but it really does help to have some background in marketing. And I don't think many artists have that, and I think that it would help any artist to learn how to market.
Yes, for sure. I agree with you 100%. So those opportunities to do right brain, left brain thinking are very important, and sometimes in short supply for artists when they can't think in a business kind of way about things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's tough.
It is. There's
tough.
A lot of great artists.
There's a ton
no
of
one knows about.
There's a ton, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
We're doing our best to spread the word in Canada, but there's certainly been a lot of artists around. Your work really is known for such a joyful palette.
Thank you.
Which I know comes from you, from your heart and your soul, right? But that's not to say you've been a busy mom, you've raised a family, you've, lived in different cities and moved around, and life with all its challenges, right? but you still manage to find that wonderfully soft, joyful expression in your work. Is that just who you are?
I think that is who I am. I think to me that's what I like looking at in art, is something that makes me happy. And usually what makes me happy is the bright, cheerful colors, regardless of the subject matter. But that's what makes me happy painting, is finding that color that goes with that color, and then it's like, wow, I love doing that. I want to do that again. So.
But there are themes in your work, Eleanor. There are themes that have emerged kind of over and over again. Mm-hmm. You know, what kinds of themes are you drawn to?
Well, I do have a lot of series that I work on. I continue to go back to them again and again. I just found I'm working on the corner store and the old, Toronto haunts that are part of my current series. But I did start working on those years ago. I found some old paintings that I had done that were in watercolor, actually, of old buildings, and I thought, oh, cool. So it's been around a while, and I'm just revisiting it. And I do revisit some of my other series, like the Umbrella series and the Joyful Garden series. I haven't put them away completely. They always still inspire me, and I think part of that is just an opportunity to put color on something. And umbrellas typically most people have a black umbrella, so I can use that as my palette to create something more joyful.
Is it a metaphor, or is it just something that you...
I think it's the shape. It's not really a metaphor. I mean, it does allow me to paint figuratively, but not having to be of somebody in particular. And it's just people in a group. So
and sort of polka dots.
Yes, and polka dots are happy rain.
Polka dots are happy rain.
Yeah,
that's also. Is your so I think you kind of said that you kind of feel like you're a tourist in your own town.
Yes.
So you take tons of photographs. You always paint from a photograph.
Yes. When I'm doing the architectural series, like the corner stores, I moved back to Toronto in 2014. Sorry. I moved to Calgary in 2000, moved back to Toronto in 2014. And I drove around, and that's when I really felt like a tourist in my own hometown. And I started looking at all these old corner stores and buildings and thought, oh, these are so great. And I guess they just don't have that in Calgary, or maybe I just was inspired all of a sudden. So
you are a Toronto-born girl, though, born and raised in Toronto, right? So this is your home.
It is.
This is where you feel most comfortable in wandering and exploring and discovering, right?
Yes.
Well, shall we call it a wrap for now? Is there anything else that you think you want to tell the world about Eleanor Lowden that they would like to know?
No.
No?
No.
You are who you are.
I am who I am. Yeah.
So thank you, Eleanor. It's just been a real pleasure to spend time with you and with your favorite man in your life.
Definitely, yes.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure having you.